Good afternoon, collectors and friends. Welcome to Trading Card Therapy, episode number 88. I'm your host, the Dr. Leighton Sheldon. Thank you so much for tuning in today. We have a wonderful episode planned. And if you've been watching Trading Card Therapy for the first 87 episodes, you'll know that we don't spend a lot of time on modern cards. Well, today you're in for a treat, as I'm going to be joined by one of the foremost experts in the field of modern sports cards. So stay tuned for just a couple minutes. All right, folks. So I wanted to start off by showing you a card that I acquired recently, and I saved it particularly for this show because I'm going to discuss it with Sharon from Black Jade Wolf, who's going to be my guest. So this is a 1998 Upper Deck game jersey card of Kobe Bryant, Black Mamba. It is graded a PSA 9. And in recent years, I think Sharon knows this, I don't collect a lot of modern cards, but I do collect Kobe. And in particular, this, I believe, is the first year that Upper Deck issued a game-used jersey card for Kobe. And I was actually collecting cards / dealing in cards in 1998. And I remember people at the Parsippany PAL card show in Parsippany, New Jersey, breaking cases of 1998 Upper Deck basketball. But they were really looking for the Vince Carter because Vince Carter was pretty hot. So was Paul Pierce. But anyway, I recently acquired this out of auction, and this is going to be in my PC for a long time to come. But we'll talk about that in just a few minutes as I bring on Sharon in just a couple. Some other news and notes. If you are local in the state of New Jersey, I am going to be visiting my sister who lives in the Freehold, New Jersey area next weekend. And the reason why I bring that up is because there's a baseball card convention that a buddy of mine told me about at I Play America. So I have a friend of mine, Robbie, from I think Robbie's Loaded Bases. He has a store somewhere in that vicinity. And I've never been, but I heard it's a great store. And Robbie actually runs that show. So I'm looking forward to hopefully seeing some old friends like my buddy Mike and his kids and some others. So if you're in the area, make sure you stop on by I Play America, which is in Freehold, New Jersey. I also wanted to give a special shout out to my last few guests who are not only friends of mine, but they were tremendous guests on Trading Card Therapy. So Sharon, you have some pressure today. Oh, I know you're sitting there just watching for a minute or two. So special shout out to my buddy Derek. I hope you heal up real quick. And of course, my other friend, Brady Hill. Thanks again for joining me last week. So without further ado, I'm going to bring on Sharon from Black Jade Wolf. Good. How are you today, Sharon?
Good. Nice to see you.
Yes, it's great to see you as well. I really appreciate you joining me for my podcast. As I think you just heard for a minute or two, my little spiel. Generally, Sharon, I've talked about anything and everything from vintage cards and memorabilia, and folks that are even not necessarily in the hobby full time, but they have wonderful collections. But I've really never had an episode with someone like yourself, who is an expert in the field of modern sports cards. And of course, we become pretty friendly. You might even have a better friendship, candidly, with my son Crosby than you do with me. But we'll talk about him in just a few. So thank you again for joining me today.
No, thank you. It's my pleasure.
My pleasure as well. And so let's start off with, for those that don't know you, Sharon, if you could maybe introduce yourself and a little bit about maybe your story as far as collecting, kind of your background there. And then, of course, the business that you run today.
My name is Sharon Chong. My business name is Black Jaded Wolf. That's what people call me mostly. People scream my Black Jaded Wolf instead of my name. But please call me Sharon, not Black Jaded Wolf, So I started like maybe 20-something years ago, just going home from school. And I love Michael Jordan. So I started like going around the corner store and seeing all these packs, and every time I have my allowance, I just buy some packs. And after a few years, basically, it's just accumulated. And my mom's like, I'm going to throw this stuff away if you don't, what are you going to do with it? So I Googled New York area. How do I get rid of some of the stores? There's no eBay at that time yet. Or maybe it's just in infancy and, I don't know about it. So I found like some New York local store and local kind of like shows. So I met a couple of people and they've been nice and introduced me to like, oh, instead of selling it to us, why don't you set up in White Plains? I'll give you like a showcase. This is like probably 21 years ago, and I said, sure, and then I give them something, for helping me out. Basically started there. Most of them are not in the hobby anymore, and kind of I'm blessed and I'm still doing this. So that's basically the shortcut of it.
So do you actually still collect today?
So since I maybe 10 years ago, since I started and made this like a full-time job and business, I kind of probably the best advice that was given to me is I shouldn't be a collector if I'm doing this a full-time business, because you don't want to get attached, especially on the modern cards. You get attached on modern cards, and it's like stocks. It goes up and down, and most of the time you could always rebuy them later if, and some of the kids don't pan out also. So it's better to like kind of move them, but knowing the timing when to move them is key in the modern market. It's a little bit different than vintage. At some point I probably wish I kept a few vintage card that I kind of got a hold of it 25 years ago, but I did it, but I'm happy with my decisions.
Well, listen, you're a better person than me, because I found that, I still collect. I don't collect as actively as I used to, but I do find that, for me, if I didn't have that, I don't know, I feel like maybe I'd be concerned, when I still have the passion, when I still have the love, but I commend you for being able to do that. It's not easy.
Oh no, but see, I shifted to other things. You see all the stuff like the artwork, the painting, toys, custom toys. A lot of them are custom one of one by the artist. So I collect those type of stuff. I just focus on different things. It's hard to, let's say I love Luca, right? This is probably one of my best and probably worst decision, but I kept some of my best Luca. It went up during pandemic, but I got it at a safe price that I don't care if it goes up and down, because I like Luca. So people are like always come to me, oh, you should have sold it. No, but you know what? If I sold it, I wouldn't have probably I would have to pay more to get them back. So I decided to hold on to it, but not, like every decision, I still would rather hold it.
Sure. Well, you win some, you lose some.
Yes.
You did bring up that you are still collecting some things, besides sports cards. And I think that's great advice if you are dealing in sports cards full time, like we both are.
Yep.
I still collect cards. I just flashed that Kobe Bryant Upper Deck Game jersey card, but I do tend to maybe lean more towards memorabilia or photographs, because at least in my own mind, I'm like, oh, well, I don't buy and sell photographs or memorabilia professionally, so it's okay if I collect this.
Yes.
But I agree with you. If you can keep that away from kind of like the main subject matter that you deal with, it'd be a little bit easier. You just mentioned some of these like one-of-one toys, and admittedly, I've been buying some cool stuff with my son. I don't think as cool as the toys you're collecting. Can you shed some light on like these one-of-one toys from artists? Because I don't know much about that kind of stuff.
So let's say the past few years, there's a big growth in the industry about like toys. So let's say a cause, sample one of this car. Sorry, I just want to show you something. So this toy, it's a custom toy. So a lot of people use it, but a lot of them are customized by the artist. So they do their own design. Basically, they paint it, so it's a one-of-one piece. But this toy in general is by Tech, which is one guy who made this toy. It's kind of like Cause, but you give it to an artist and they made their own version of it, basically. So they become one of one.
If I may, Sharon, it's almost like taking a card that you like, might like, but then you give it like a Kobe base card, but you give it to a card artist, and now all of a sudden they give you back a one-of-one. You're not really doing it or turning it into a one-of-one because of financial reasons. You're doing it because you just really dig it. You might like that artist. You might also like the subject matter, meaning the Kobe card or that toy, and you're kind of crossing them. And now you created, it sounds like, a limited edition collectible, but also something that you really enjoy, and you're not buying and selling for a living.
Yes, no, but there are value to it, because sometimes the artists do become valuable, So, I always teach like younger collector that comes up to me, it's always good. I love teaching them just to collect. Don't look at them as a price, like it has a value. But at some point, it will be nice if your investment or your something you collect has value in the future. You could give it to your kid, some type of value, basically.
Absolutely. Well, it's funny because I wasn't going to dive in so early to One Piece. We will in a minute, but you mentioned something just a couple minutes ago, and I wanted to shed some light on this for the audience. What I'm trying to do, Sharon, today is, even though it's you and I talking, what I'm trying to do is create content and value for folks that maybe have been with me since the beginning. They really love vintage, but they've wanted to buy a great Kobe card, or they've wanted to buy a great Michael Jordan card or a great Ohtani card. And I've come to you before at conventions. Sharon, I'm thinking about buying a Luka. What do you think? And you had mentioned that timing is really important. And I don't know if you were referring to just the sale of it or also the buying of a modern card. So maybe we could talk about timing in modern cards and how it's a little bit different than vintage, where, time is very much not only of the essence, but for example, if someone goes off and has a 68-point game and there's a bump, do we as a collector, do we sell that card and then buy it back? Maybe we can talk about timing just for a few minutes.
Yeah, that's always key, especially in baseball. That's why I actually took a little step back on it. When a new baseball prospect comes out, they're 16 years old and people put a big bounty on it. When you pull the card, I don't care if it's 100,000, you think the kid is the next Mantle, I would sell it, because most of the time, almost 99% of the time, it drops back down after a few months, and then if he does become Mantle, then you'll probably pay half the price still. So at some point in modern, you could always rebuy, but in basketball and football, it's a little different story. It's not all three different sport has different formula to collect. So to buy is different, and to sell is different in football, basketball, and baseball. So like in football, it's quarterbacks. I mean, if you want to be the sure bet, quarterbacks, but they also get, a lot of them gets injured. So you got to be, if they're hot and they're in a streak, probably time to move them. You could always rebuy them after. If they're going into the Super Bowl, sometimes it's better to sell them before the Super Bowl than after the Super Bowl. After they win, it actually tanks back down a little, even if they win, because prospecting, the hottest time is the prospecting time, which is now till the Super Bowl.
Wow. So wait a minute. This is a lot of knowledge you're spilling right here on trading card therapy. So what you're saying is, if I understand you correctly, and I want to make sure that the audience gets this, because this is some valuable information here, Sharon. So effectively, with the Chiefs-Eagles Super Bowl coming up, you're saying doesn't matter which quarterback or which team you like. Your suggestion is, if you're holding either Mahomes or Hurts cards right now, to sell going into the Super Bowl.
Yes.
And if I'm hearing you correctly, almost like no matter what happens, no matter who wins or loses, there's going to be like a depressed state because football's over, right? People kind of, they settle back in. Go ahead. No, please, because I want to make sure.
Especially the losing quarterback. Okay. So, obviously, this year, Mahomes is a little bit different situation because he's going for a three-peat. So his value after the three-peat might actually go up a little because no quarterback has ever done it. So he's in a different situation. But most of the time, after a quarterback wins their first or second Super Bowl, it does dip a little. And then during national times, when the season's about to start again, it goes back up again. So that's always the trend.
I feel like you could do a dissertation on just the economics of the modern card market and really the graphs. And so if I'm hearing you correctly, and Mahomes is a special circumstance because he might be not just the GOAT right now, but he might be the GOAT when he's done. So Sharon, we're saying here that if he wins, no quarterback in the NFL has ever three-peated in a row. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So my question for you, if that's the case, let's say for argument's sake, the Chiefs win. There's a little bit of a bump. Mm-hmm. Then this is where I guess I become murky. I'm sure the audience is questioning this as well. If they've never done three and he wins, well, there's going to be excitement for his fourth if he actually wins the third. So I guess what would you advise someone who was looking to buy a Mahomes card right now, not someone who's holding? Would you wait for the Super Bowl to play out, or are you worried that if he wins and there's going to be all this FOMO surrounding now he's going to be going for a fourth, and like it's going to be unbreakable?
So perfect scenario is I usually don't buy going this deep into the playoff of a certain players because most of the time it's peak in my opinion, and now you're taking serious gamble that in one game it could go up and down. So to me it's not a good investment. But last week during the White Plains show, I kind of bought two Mahomes because I have a feeling, it could be big or what, and even if he loses, I'm still not gonna lose money because it's Mahomes. Exactly. So I bought two cards. I don't like buying one card. I bought two and then decided I'm gonna run one for the Super Bowl. Whatever he wins or lose, I'm getting rid of that. And then the good one I'm gonna keep. So I'm basically gonna be whatever the value of the good one is right now, I'm paying half of it because I'm covering with the other card that I'm selling.
Okay, so it sounds like you're cheering for the Chiefs.
No, because that's the two card. You told me, you texted me today, show me two cards. Please. So I'm going to show you two cards right now. A one of one Hurts black prism rookie auto. Yes. Yeah. And then a one of one Mahomes red ink auto. So
oh my God. So you have both bases covered. So
yes.
Who do you actually want to win the Super Bowl, or are you just hoping for a really good game?
So I'm a very sad Giant fan. So I'm just rooting for a good game for both. I don't want any blowout, coming down to the wire, and let's see who wins, basically. Either one is fine with me.
If that's the case, and you have just two unbelievable rookie quarterback cards that you just showed off here, it sounds like you don't want a blowout, but you want like a 56-51 game.
No, definitely. I just want a great game.
Quarterback. I'm going to text you on Monday. Well, Hurts lost, but he threw 5 touchdowns. Sharon, you will be a happy camper if the game is in the 50s on Super Bowl Sunday, right?
To be honest with you, that happened 2 years ago. Hurts actually outplayed Mahomes, but the winner always sells better. So people forget the losers at some point.
Sure. Okay. Well, I think we've made it abundantly clear, at least from that segment, that timing is really important. And so unlike my business that I run for Just Collect, part of the reason why I only dabble in modern is because it seems like if you don't stay on top of it, you could really just lose your proverbial shirt.
Definitely.
So of the 3 sports, baseball, basketball, and football, like the major 3 that we're talking about today, because I know you don't dabble too much in hockey.
Mm-hmm.
Which of the 3 do you find it, I would say, easiest for a novice? And I guess what I'll do is kind of go first in the sense of my just hot take is football is just so quarterback driven that at least I know to tell a buddy of mine if they were new entering the space, like don't buy a linebacker as much as you might like a running back, nope. Stay away and just really buy the quarterbacks. Now, it might be tough to choose the good one, but I feel like at least in football, it's very formulaic. But I was curious, do you feel like football is not the easiest of those 3 sports? And there's another sport you would choose for a beginner?
Basketball is probably the easiest.
Really?
Not only if you enjoy watching it, a lot of kids enjoy watching it, but also the collectible space, like the marquee players. They don't even like the second best player in the team. So it's like, during the Curry, the Golden State dynasty, it's really Curry. Clay didn't sell, nobody else sell. Draymond doesn't sell, it's kind of like but during Jordan times, I mean, Scotty kind of sold, Rodman sold a little, but now it's so heavily on like the top players of each team. It's like Luka. Kyrie doesn't really sell much either. And he's definitely on par to being the second best player in the team. So to me, it's kind of easy based on that. So if you like a certain team, you're a Boston Celtics fan. So Boston is a little weird. So the fan base,
I'm a Celtic fan. It's kind of close there.
So Tatum won, but he didn't really go up. He actually went down in prices. But I also think that has a lot to do with half of the fan base think Jalen Brown is the best player or the heart of that team, So that to me is a little tough, but he's one guy that's just, I don't know why.
Now, listen, great point about basketball. Certainly in the way you described it. I think it is a little bit easier. But I
Mhm.
would also add to that, if you happen to be a fan, not investment here,
Yep.
but if you happen to be a fan, for example, in football, of a particular wide receiver or defensive end, or in basketball, if you like that number 2 or 3 guy in a team, you
Yeah.
can actually do okay in terms of an acquisition price because
Yes.
it's not going to be what a Luka costs,
Yeah.
right? Or what a Kobe costs, or whatever the case may be. So I wanted to try to get to this, and this is, I think, a perfect segue. So let's just say, because I know we've talked Luka before, let's just say it's, Luka's a little bit different than Jordan. So I don't know if you want to talk about Luka first. Maybe let's do that.
Hmm.
So let's say you're going to go out and you want to buy one Luka card, and you want to hold that card for some time. And you might be saying the time I'm going to sell it is on the precipice potentially of his first title, meaning if he reaches an NBA final, if he wins an MVP. Like, here's going to be certain questions you'll be asking yourself. So now that you've decided Luka's your guy, you're going to go out and buy one in today's marketplace, not COVID, not pre-COVID, but today, because the market's insane. There's 38 different platforms, but there's only one Sharon. And I have her today on the show. Thanks for smiling. Sharon, you're talking to me, but you're talking to this big audience of people in the hobby. What kind of advice, and if you need my budget, I'm happy to share, what kind of advice do you offer someone who wants to buy just one card of Luka, and they want to know that they're buying quality, but they don't have the money to buy, right, the flawless out of 10 or the NTRPA? What do you suggest to someone?
To be honest with you, my favorite Luca is probably, it's very underappreciated still, is the Immaculate. He doesn't have a lot of true RPA card besides National Treasures, Flawless, obviously. But to me, his Immaculate number to 99, the true, is it's such a cheap price still right now. I think it's sub 10,000. I think it's like 5,000 only. And I think it's a good card to pick up, especially if you could get a grade 9 or above, because it's super hard to grade the card due to the texture that it's a acetate card. So if you could find that card in a 9 for sub 5K, I think it's a great investment.
I appreciate you sharing that. Let's just say someone only has $1,000 to work with.
Okay.
And they can't be in that immaculate NT or flawless range.
Mm-hmm.
What do you recommend for someone there? Is it going to be numbered? Is it going to be an autograph? Is it going to be something different? I would love to hear your opinion.
So I'm an autograph person, so I always lean towards autograph. I think a contender, maybe obviously not graded in PSA 10, but a raw could be like around 15 and below. He doesn't really have a lot of cards that's sub 1,000 for rookie autograph. You could, yeah. And I don't want people to buy like a Prism Silver. There's so many made. Pop is so high, so it's a good investment in pandemic. But right now, it's just not worth it. I would rather have a customer that gets like an autograph on card. Those are, if you could find an autograph on card of Luka rookie year that's sub 1,000, I think it's a good pickup.
So you prefer an on card autographed rookie for pound for pound money wise, you'd prefer that instead of a numbered version of that card that's unsigned?
Yes.
Okay. And do you think it's because the autograph just makes it a little bit more special versus the numbering, which candidly came from a machine, and as much as there might be rarity, at least you have a true piece of that player?
There's just lower quantity of it.
Okay.
Always lower quantity. And even if the card is numbered, let's say a purple prism is numbered to 75. I understand the purple prism, but there's also a purple disco. There's also a purple shimmer. There's, so to me, there's just so much of them. And to me, an autograph that is 99 is 99 autograph. There could be a 49 autograph, yes, but it's just lower, this is a lot less of them, basically.
Well, it's really interesting. So I'm going to bring up a card because I want to get your honest feedback. Hopefully I can figure out how to do this on the screen. I think I'll just show it like this. So what I have right here is I have a 2018 Topps from the base set, Shohei Ohtani pitching variation, but the black. So it's numbered of 67. It's a PSA 9. So my question for you is, the card's not signed. I do like that it's a Topps black.
Yes.
Meaning, it's very rare in basketball. Topps black means something. But I've been reflecting on the conversation, and I'm curious, right? Pretending that you and I are having this consultation, and there's no one else listening, but even though, we know we're going to have some folks listen to this afterwards, I'm hoping that folks can take some real valuable information from this and figure out what to do for themselves. So are you advising me to potentially sell this Ohtani and then maybe take those funds and buy the equivalent of an Ohtani signed rookie? In other words, based on what you're saying, this is a machine numbered card. And once again, a great card. I'm not going to try to disparage my own card.
No, it's definitely a great card.
Do you think I'm better off with, for equivalent value, finding an Ohtani signed rookie?
In my opinion, yes, especially if it's on card, because a lot of people get it, oh, Ohtani have signed this or touched it, it's like, and they're lower numbered. I understand that's 67, but there's so many variation of that too still, but the good thing about that card is it's super hard to grade because it's the black version. So it is low pop. To me, anything below 10 or 15 pop is a great keep also. So to me, anything below 15, 20 is like a good PC if you want to. But if not, to me, autograph rookie on card is the best way to go. That's just my opinion.
All right. So now I'm going to throw a little bit of a curveball, no pun intended. So let's just say I'm someone who, I agree with you. I want to sell that Ohtani. I want to convert it into a signed Ohtani rookie. I'll tell you, I don't have to look at my notes because I know what it says. There is some beautiful, flawless, and NT Ohtani rookies from 2018. But we all know that they're not licensed. So do you feel that the advice you're sharing that I must buy an Ohtani signed licensed rookie, or is it okay to choose like an NT or a flawless from 2018 for Ohtani, but they're not licensed? What's your advice?
I always lean with licensing.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just because it's it's licensed. You can see the full logo. To me, it's a little different. So I know there's issues right now with the licensing issue. It's a sensitive topic. It's like customer always asks me, "Oh, should I buy the Wemby autograph right now?" It's a tough situation, to be honest with you, because I would like for my customer, even for myself, to buy a few Wemby because I think he's great if he's healthy, But I really don't like non-licensed product. So
okay.
But I do have Sharon, a few just to cover myself.
Absolutely. No, listen, I appreciate you being so forthcoming. So my next question, and once again, folks, here on Trading Card Therapy today, we are focusing our discussion surrounding modern cards as we have Sharon from Black Jaded Wolf with us, who is a foremost expert in the field of modern sports cards. So I just showed this off to start the show today. It is the first game-used jersey card of Kobe Bryant that they made. It's from 1998. Now, this card's a PSA 9. So what I wanted to do is share with you what happened, meaning it was on my want list. I know that 10s are super expensive and also not readily available. I saw one at a public auction. And for myself, I decided that if I could buy it for a reasonable price, I would buy it. But that if a 10 became available, I promised myself that if I could afford it, I would sell the 9 and then I would turn it into a 10. So my question really lies, when as a modern collector are we kind of like wasting our time and our hard-earned money buying that 9? Because I've heard now, listen, I listen to a lot of hobby content to stay in the know. And folks like Jeremy Lee, right? And Cage and Neo. I mean, all sorts of wonderful content creators. And I've been hearing through the grapevine that, in some cases, you'd rather have raw instead of PSA 9. And for me, that kind of boggles my mind because, of course, there's no vintage card that I'd rather have raw instead of PSA 9. And so I'm curious, do you feel like iconic cards like that, right? The first game-used jersey card from Upper Deck of Kobe, do you still feel that a 9 is a good card, or do you have to own a 10 of that card to really have it be investment caliber?
So it depends on who you are. Sometimes, you gotta be what you could afford. If you really want to spend that money, yes, it's great to have the 10, obviously. There's only a few of those, but to me, just to have that piece of history, a 9 is great, even in my opinion. And that set, even a 9 is in great condition, to be honest with you. I have so many people that graded like the Vince Carter of that. Is it Vince Carter? No,
Yeah,
yeah, Iverson, and all that stuff, and they're just, they're the first year that they ever made Game Used jersey. They actually say Game Used. So
cool.
it's an iconic set, and I actually think it's one of those. There's still time to buy them. They're kind of expensive now, but if you have a complete set of that, to me, it's even rare than probably the complete set of Jordan Flair. It's just hard to complete, and especially in especially in PSA 10. But it's a very iconic set. It's one of my favorite sets. So when you showed that early, I'm like, that's nice.
Thank you. I just remember as a kid, it really resonated with me. And candidly, I didn't have that kind of money back then where I could just open a case, right? And I wasn't thinking, to buy it. But one of the things I really appreciated about Game Used jersey cards, and more, I guess, specifically thick cards from the modern era. Remember, I'm a vintage guy, but I also understand condition. Thick cards from the modern era are very condition sensitive.
Yep.
So part of the reason why I went for the Kobe, I'm like, I remember handling raw versions of this card coming out of packs, and like you would see a little bit of wear. So a 9 is still a tough card. Thank you for making me feel better about my purchase. But the joking aside, I think it's iconic, and it's one of those cards where I don't really have plans to resell it unless I'm able to find a 10.
Mm-hmm. No, it's a great card, and I know that set. As it get older, the back is start to peel too, and all that stuff. So it's good that it's already in a safe PSA holder.
You know what's crazy, Sharon? So I looked before I got on air with you today to tape our show. I haven't looked. I bought it last year. I haven't looked on eBay. Like maybe there'd be a 10. And I would be able to talk about it on air today. Like, should I buy it or whatever? So of course there's no 10. There's a BGS 9 for like a silly price. And then there's only a handful of raw examples. And Sharon, I'm pretty sure that the cheapest raw example is more expensive than what I paid for my graded 9. So per your point, you don't necessarily have to have a 10 to, make money, to of course have something iconic. And, what I wanted to do, because we could spend a whole episode really just on Kobe and Michael. I know I could ask you what is going on in the modern market and what's hot, but you and I and many other folks know that Michael Jordan is on fire. So what I wanted to do is maybe spend a couple minutes, offer some guidance to folks, not about his rookie. We don't want to debate 84 Star or 86 Fleer. We'll leave that for other folks, other content creators. But let's say they're like you and I, meaning we grew up in the 90s-ish, and we remember scoring kings. Even though we heard of essential credentials, you and I never pulled one, but we knew they were out there. We had big dreams. So I'm curious because his autographs are out of control on card. And in some cases, I can't make sense of, like, even if I had the budget, I wouldn't pull the trigger because I could actually buy a Michael Jordan signed basketball, put it on my shelf, look at it, maybe even, make nice to it. But the card, and I love cards. Thanks for having me. I love cards. Help us make sense if we are a Michael Jordan beginner. We have, I don't know, I'm going to say somewhere between $1,000 and $3,000, right, as a budget to buy a card. We know that we're likely not going to get an autograph.
Not licensed.
Unlicensed. So that's my point is, do we go after a Jordan unlicensed, like North Carolina auto out of Goodwin? Do we go after a really great insert from the 90s, but it's not numbered, but it's high grade? Can you help us make sense of the Michael Jordan card market here today on Trading Card Therapy?
See, I have a response to that based on what do you really like? Are you an insert collector or are you autograph collector? Because to me, it's there's a big difference, So the sports card market, it's a own niche. And then you think that's weird, just, you could just buy an autograph ball. No. And then the insert market's even weirder. So to me, somewhere in between are the sports cards signed, basically. It's not, memorabilia, because the reason why memorabilia doesn't go up as much, I have some good ones, but he could always sign still. So they're always upper deck every year still, not every year, but every few years, sign a few things still, unless you have like the all-star jerseys from the 90s, but he could still sign basically, but he hasn't signed recently licensed products. So that's the only reason why. But if you hear that Upper Deck is about to be sold, then you should get rid of some. I'm gonna be honest with you. I have probably kept like only 3 Jordan on card the past couple of years. There's one 2000 and 2000 SPX autograph sneaker and jersey together. And believe me, I know when it's about to go up because people are asking about it like every show. I always bring one only. I refuse to bring all of them. So, and when I said the price and the guy said we were like $1,000 apart, and I'm like, okay, I want to pull it back and not sell it, but the guy, once you put it out, you have to sell it. So I sold it, but after that, I haven't put a Jordan autograph out in the show recently. It all depends on. That's the thing. It's like, why is it moving right now? Why, it's like you can't understand why the market is doing that right now. I don't think Jordan is sick, but knock on wood. But I'm just saying. So to me, if you want a collector that you just want to like display the item, a memorabilia is great.
Sure. So think about the purpose behind the want or desire that you have. That's a great point, Sharon, because if you're someone who's working in an office, a Jordan on-card auto for a card, super cool, it's going to get lost in an office.
Yeah. So that's the thing. If you want to enjoy the piece, buy something you could display and kind of show off, But if it's something that you think later on you want to invest in, but in a tight budget, I mean, a non-licensed North Carolina, nicer one, Upper Deck, not, some Goodwins are on cards, so that could be a good thing too. Or, but to me, I would rather, if it's 3,000 budget, I would probably just buy a memorabilia for now.
Okay. I appreciate that. So lots of different directions I could go in. What I'd like to do is touch upon something that means something to me, and I'll show off the card. I showed it off last week as well, but I wanted to take the audience through just briefly what I did in terms of acquiring the card, but then also ask your advice. For example, I'm just starting to get into tennis cards. So, because I play a lot of tennis. And, listen, about the rookie cards, and then there's inserts, and then there's super refractors. And so I find myself in a similar situation where I was years ago with Hulk Hogan. What I mean is, so for example, like I love John McEnroe. He was my favorite tennis player growing up. But I like his rookie. There's a debate about what his rookie is. Sure. Yep. However, I also like some of the memorabilia cards and autograph cards they've come out with. So what I'm really asking is, let's say it's something that you're looking at and it's not one of the major 3 or 4 sports. Let's say it's One Piece, right? Let's say it's Big Bang Theory. Let's say it's soccer. How do you, or what do you recommend for someone if they want to buy like the best card of a particular, like Luffy, and it's not so clear cut who's a character from One Piece that folks don't know, and not so much soccer, but like, for example, Hulk Hogan, if you don't want to buy his 85 tops or his 82, all-star rookie, like what card is considered the best? Is it just super fractors? Is it Prism Golds? I find the marketplace in terms of modern cards to be overwhelming in that regard. And so I was wondering if you could help us make sense of it. Like, in other words, Hulk Hogan, Luffy, or Michael Jackson even. How do you find out what card to buy of that person?
Obviously, my answer to that have changed, due to the market has changed too. 15 years ago, people wouldn't want to like sign a mantle rookie, Sure. It has changed because it's like, oh, that's like a blasphemy. You can't do that. Now you're tampering a precious card. But now, I don't know, the past 5-10 years, it has changed. People want to buy a mantle, nice rookie autograph now, and they're very rare. I mean, that 6 Jordan rookie PSA 10 was crack out to get it signed. That's massive, So it's changing a little. So to me, if you're a big Hogan fan and you want a combination of both, I think an on-card signed rookie would be great, So might not be, so there's a big, you're like, oh, but that could be cheap or no, it depends on the, if you want a PSA 10 Hogan rookie signed, you have to crack it out and get it signed. And so that could be very expensive too, so it's like the past few years, even athletes, Jabbar was like, charging different price range. If the card is PSA 10, he charges more, so it's changing a little. But to me, so I see all the side that people don't collect, like One Piece. I collect all those too, so not just toys. I'm big into non-sport. This year alone, I throw in like probably 100 grand in non-sport this year, so I'm kind of getting ready for I collect them also. I love them. It's the shows I watch. That's why I buy them. But now I've been buying those for like maybe 5-10 years. And now suddenly it's getting hot, So I'm getting them all graded. The ones that I don't like, I sell so I could buy some better ones, that type of thing. You got to just be ahead of the market. And it's like with Luffy and with One Piece, every few months they're coming out with new products. Same with Pokemon, So you just got to know what you like. If you like a certain character, you like Pikachu, collect Pikachu, because it could be very overwhelming, like you said. And to me, a nice combination of some vintage Pokemon and some modern short printed full art stuff will be great. So
I'm excited, and believe me, we're gonna cover One Piece at the end because my son will let me come home if I don't. So I just wanted to share very briefly, because I don't think I reached out to you years ago when I bought this Hogan PMG PSA 10. So I showed it off last week. But I wanted to share with the audience kind of what my rationale was in terms of my thinking and my process when I went to buy this card a few years ago. So Sharon, if I had, easy access to you years ago, of course, I would have reached out. But my thinking was very simple. I already had both of Hogan's rookies, and I already had both of them signed. Other than Ultimate Warrior, I mean, growing up, I was
He's
Ultimate
my
Warrior.
favorite.
Ultimate Warrior was my favorite. And my brother would be Hulk Hogan and a variety of other wrestlers, but like we would pretend to, fake wrestle, of course, and fight. And so wrestling means a lot to me from that era. And so who knows exactly why it was that day or that weekend, but I'm like, I want to buy a kick-ass Hulk Hogan card, but it's not going to be his rookie. It's not going to be, a signed rookie. I have that. And admittedly, the insert market's a little bit overwhelming. And because I already had signed rookies, I didn't feel like I needed to get a signed insert. And so I'll tell you, I didn't really have much experience with PMGs, but when you look in this card, it just screams like really cool. And so it was really just by dumb luck that someone was auctioning a 10. Talk about, eBay snipe software. I put in some, what I thought was a really obnoxious high bid, figuring if I lost it, oh, well, not a big deal. I ended up winning it. And I really just kind of forgot about it. And I put it out at one show years ago. Some guy's like, how much you asking for the Hogan? And I'm thinking he's asking about like a signed rookie or something. I'm like, oh, that's not for sale. And, he's like, well, that's really rare because it's a pop 4. Like, I didn't buy it because it was a pop 4. I bought it because it was the best I could get, meaning it was a 10. And so my point is, I don't exactly know what I'm going to do with the card, but now I want to get that same card, meaning, a 9 or a 7 or what have you. But I like to get it signed because it really is my favorite insert of him. And this is my point, Sharon, and I think you found this yourself. And for those that are listening, I think this might serve you well. I bought it out of passion. I didn't buy it as an investment. I didn't buy it because I thought it was a good deal. I bought it because I thought it was cool. I did. I was grateful to have the budget to buy it. But if you fast forward now years later, look, some of my best investments in my hobby have been the things I truly love. And I'm curious if you found the same for yourself and your material.
Definitely. And that's what I always teach people, or, kids come up to me, it has to start with passion. Because to be honest with you, I employed a few people, and after like one employee is like, after a year, it's like, I can't do what you do. You live and breathe this, he said, he was supposed to take over my business, and I'm like, he just can't, you can't force it. So at some point, same with collecting, it got to start with passion. That's why people ask me, kid asked me, what's a good investment right now? What do you like? It has to start with that. What do you like? Because at some point you're going to get bored and it's going to be a bad investment if you don't enjoy it. So I always tell kids, you got to enjoy it, and you got to be at least somewhat passionate about it, you know. I mean, obviously it's sometimes, you know, you get busy at certain things, you forget about it. But at some point, if you were at one point passionate about it, you could get back to it later on. I know a lot of kids that started with their dad, you know, after high school, college, they forget about it. But when they have their own money, they get back into it. So at some point, you know, it has to start with passion. And that's my favorite story. I have so many kids that grew up now and now they have their own job and they come back to me, Karen, what do I buy now? Now I have my own money, you know. And those are the best stories, to be honest with you. And I enjoy
No,
that.
listen, it's adorable.
Mhm.
So we're going to get into One Piece for a second, and then hopefully, if we have time, we'll cover one other thing, and then I'm going to let you run because I've kept you a long time. I appreciate
No
your
problem.
patience. So check this out. This is how much Crosby loves One Piece. So I decided to place an order to bring in some retail boxes to my store, Just Collect here in Summit, New Jersey. And I think we ordered from like David Adams. You know,
Mhm.
any box, like hobby box that was a reasonable price, meaning $100, $150. I
Yep.
figured I'll bring it in, put it out by the pack, because I know from going to Target and other card stores, there's not a lot of folks who carry One Piece. And as you and my son are avid fans, I'm thinking there's probably some other avid fans out there. And at the very least, I'd like my son to connect with some of those kids. So we get the boxes in, and I don't remember if I took like half or six packs from each box, whatever it was, meaning I reserved them for Crosby. I put them aside. They'll be a gift over the course of the year, whatever the case is. So I put them out of the store. So Kristen, who's not in today, sees Crosby start looking at these packs, and she texts me. She's like, Leighton, you got to come up here. This is adorable. Crosby
Oh.
doesn't know I bought these. He sees them in the case. He's like a kid in an ice cream store. He's like, oh my God, does my daddy know that these are here? He's like, I think if I save up my allowance for the next 3 weeks, I'm going to be able to get 2 of these and 1 of these.
Wow.
And he doesn't know that I brought them in,
Of course.
not just, for the store, but for his own enjoyment. And so what I wanted to do is to bring up very briefly, there was this wonderful moment at the last Philly show or the time before, I don't honestly recall, but you and Crosby, you were like 2 peas in a pod, One Piece cards. And I know you weren't trying to sell him any cards because he doesn't have any money, right? And I don't think he was trying to buy any from you, but yet you both look so happy. And you're, I think, showing him, I don't want to misspeak, maybe like a big purchase you made of a case hit card of One Piece. And so maybe you could share with the audience and me, because I'd love to know, even though I've watched One Piece, what is it about the show One Piece that you and Crosby and others around the world are really taking to about and really love about the show?
Luffy is like a Rocky. He gets beat up, you know. He gets the fight sometimes lasts like 5 episodes, 10 episodes. And at some point he keeps coming back up and fighting, you know. And he loves his teammates. He will die for his teammates, you know. It's like it's just a feel-good story. He is a ultimate hero, basically. He would do everything to protect his team, you know. And to me, that's just like a good story for a kid, you know. And then if you follow the show, I know it's like 1,200 episodes now, but he started from like really this annoying kid, and now he's like in the 5th level, which I haven't had time to talk to Crosby yet, which is like the best thing happened, you know. So he's in 5th gear now. So it took him a while to get beat up, to lose his brother, to even get those power. So it's like a good story. It's not just a card. I know it's a cartoon, but it's like, you know, it has a nice feel good story, basically.
Listen,
And I
I
think
really
people should
appreciate you
connect
sharing that with me, Sharon, because I really didn't know that exactly the way you described. And honestly, hearing the way you just described it to me, I could see why Crosby resonates with it. You know, I don't want to take up much more time today, but Crosby was born, as you know, with a rare medical condition. And in some ways, sometimes I feel like he forgets it because, right, you know, he doesn't wear it on his sleeve. Hey, I have a rare medical condition, but yet it affects his life every day. And I think that seeing a character like Luffy, it's probably someone that resonates with him, about someone that maybe feels like he's been beat up or it's not always easy. And, you know, the ups and downs in life. And I'm always, you know, my son just turned 10, so I try to keep it real with him and explain to him that life doesn't always go like this. You know, it's going to be up, it's going to be down, and it's about how we deal with it, how we regulate our emotions. And you know, I even like the way you described how Luffy grew through the show.
That's the good thing about Crosby too. he never really pouts about anything. When we were talking, he's like happy. You wouldn't, besides you telling me his situation, I wouldn't know about it. And I love that you told him, he came to your store and like, oh, he didn't like, oh, daddy, can I ask daddy for this? No, he's like, oh, if I save up my money, I could buy a couple of this, which is great. He never asked for it. And I love that about him. It was good.
Well,
I wish I could see him again. You haven't brought him to show.
He'll be at the March Philly show. So for those that are not familiar,
I'm in iPlay, by the way, next week.
Oh, it's interesting. Crosby might come by because my sister lives near there, and we're working some family thing out. We'll definitely try to make it a point to see you.
Send me a text.
I definitely will. And the last thing is just because I know that there's a lot of collectors out there, Sharon, who are going to buy the upcoming release of 2025 Topps Series 1 baseball. And I don't know much about it. And I'm not saying that you're an expert on Topps baseball, but maybe you can share just a piece of advice or two for those that might get caught up in like just the ripping and the shredding and chasing their one of one, because I heard there's some cool like one of ones of the bases now this year. What do you advise for especially the kids that are looking forward to the release of the Series 1 2025 Topps baseball product that's going to come out, I guess, in the next 4 or 6 weeks?
So it's not my favorite things to open because, it's just a lot of work. And,
Sure.
To me, I would rather buy the hits, at some point. But if you're a kid, it's probably the top selling thing in my new store too. And in Bleecker, when I hang out there, it's affordable for kids, and now that they added rarer hits, which is great to open. Before, you might get like, let's say the Otani number to 67 black, but you don't see anything number 1 of 1, number to 5, stuff like that. And then now with the debut patches, possibly being in there, I think it just adds a lot more bigger hits. So a simple box that, you might get it with your grandparents or with your dad could actually have something massive in it, So
Which
I
is
think
super
it's
cool, but it's still affordable.
Yes, still affordable. That's the key. I'm just hoping that the market don't, because now you have big hits like this. Now the market will go up too on those boxes. I just hope there are certain things that should stay at this level so people could afford it.
No, it's a great point, Sharon. So for the folks that would like to reach out to you to either talk about modern cards, get some advice, or they want to buy maybe an expensive Luka card, how does someone find you?
Social media is basically my main access, Black Jaded Wolf. Obviously in our site, you could also send me a message there, blackjadedwolf.com. I'm almost in every platform, Twitter, every platform you could think of, we have one there, Threads, send me a message. Obviously, if it's urgent, you could Google and find my number and give me a call.
And where's your store located, Sharon?
So I opened one in Long Island in October. I'm not there. It's managed by one of my good friend, and he retired, Frank Tanza, and he's running the store, which is his local. That's where he grew up. It's his hometown. So he's running the store, and I'm looking for a second one, possibly in Jersey or in the city, so in New York. But we'll see.
Very cool. Well, Sharon, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. I know Crosby would have loved to be part of our conversation today, but hopefully we'll see you next weekend at iPlay.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
Take care. We'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye. Okay, folks, that was Sharon from Black Jaded Wolf, who is not only one of the nicest, but she is one of the most knowledgeable folks about sports cards in the modern card era. Folks, that is episode number 88 of Trading Card Therapy. If you enjoyed today's content, please make sure you like the video and subscribe to our Just Collect YouTube channel so you'll know each and every time our next episode of Trading Card Therapy drops, or a video about a collection that we've just purchased, or anything and everything in between having to do with the hobby we all love. Thanks for tuning in, everybody.